Hello and welcome to my update video for my Chayula monk. I just recorded another video for this and it ended up turning into 40 minutes and I don't want to do that. I want to get this down to like a much shorter duration. Essentially I am playing non-crit Chayula. The results of all the things that I figured out about non-crit in this game, especially with elemental overload just not fucking existing, has kind of just resulted in me thinking that non-crit is effectively useless on quarterstaff builds. It's enough damage to like get you through the campaign. It's definitely going to be more than enough damage to get me through low tier maps, but as I level up I can effectively just switch to crit and I'll do way more damage. It just takes way more passive points to make crit work, and playing anything that doesn't freeze is essentially ending your damage as a Chayula. So you must freeze a boss in order to not have to waste a ton of points getting like penetration on the tree. Additionally, I don't think at this current time that playing into like all the chaos damage is necessarily worth it. I think for a crit based Chayula monk, getting like Wither Away as an anoint is probably worth it, or just like picking up these nodes and then anointing pure chaos. I don't think any of the other chaos wheels, at least for Chayula, are at all worth taking in any day of the year unless you are specifically trying to do poison stuff. Defenses for this build are solid enough currently. I have 76 evasion at level 65. I have a like 7k hit pool. I have 56% chaos res. So really strong defensively. I have a lot of excess spirit, and a lot of the stuff that I'm doing in my spirit gems are going to change drastically after I get into the breach, because yeah, just some of the stuff is just complete overkill. But currently I have Grim Feast. This overcaps your energy shield. I don't think that this is healthy for the game. I don't think that this should fucking exist in any single fucking universe. This is incredibly toxic for the game. Ghost Dance, generally just really good. I have it linked with the life recovery on kill. This allowed me to drop these 2 points, incredibly valuable while leveling through the campaign, to take Mindful Awareness, which is incredibly valuable the further you get into the campaign to increase your evasion and energy shield. Wind Dancer linked with Glaciation. This is honestly kind of just a dead link, but I wanted to try it out. Combat Frenzy linked with Clarity and Profusion. Profusion is absolutely required. You can make leveling without Profusion possible, just Profusion makes it insanely easier, especially for bossing. Ice Strike, I tried corrupting mine, did not get another additional socket. Crescendo, Martial Temple, Primal Armament. Primal Armament is insanely bad. Concentrated Effect is actually way better damage. So to demonstrate that, I'm taking that out and I'm gonna get Concentrated Effect. I don't actually have one, I just know this to be true. And I have to step away from the stash tab, so we'll go into the stash tab, I believe. I do not like the gem system. As you can see, Concentrated Effect is not even recommended here. 100% this is getting nerfed, by the way. So Concentrated Effect, more area damage. This is considered AoE, but it's so like you have to be like sitting on a boss's dick anyways, so it just gives you way more damage. Might put this in something else, not certain what. Charge Staff is linked with Perpetual Charge, Conduction, and Persistence. Shattering Palm is linked with Ice Bite and Magnified Effect. Sometimes you get some really good AoE clear with Shattering Palm, and Ice Bite will just give you 30% of damage as cold damage for 3 seconds. So yeah, really good. Magnified Effect just helps with like the AoE of the skill. Tempest Spell is linked with Inevitable Critical and Withering Touch. Inevitable Critical allows us to better apply like shocks and ignites. That's really nice. Inevitable Critical is also going to be a good support for my charged staff once it gets 4-linked. And then Frostbomb, Second Wind, Strip Away. Unironically, with Ice Strike here, because it doesn't fully convert, you do a lot of like remaining physical damage. So this really needs to get 100% convert, else Lightning Strike will, or Lightning Flurry, Tempest Flurry, whatever it's called, is just inherently better. The final hit of Ice Strike does not convert to 100%. If it did convert, Ice Strike would be fine. But because the Tempest Flurry converts 100% on the final hit, and you can use like the Crescendo, that allows you to use like the Primal Armament and everything else like that, and get a boatload of more damage for just free links. And then on top of that, because it is 100% convert, and Leech doesn't really apply unless you're doing Quarterstaff Strike shenanigans for a single target, because Quarterstaff Strike literally does half the amount of damage as Ice Strike, does not cost any mana, and does not have any fucking links whatsoever. The Quarterstaff Strike can literally become your main DPS skill. Even though it only has 1.9 attacks per second, this does way better than Ice Strike if you literally just like put some of these supports in it. Yeah, it's AoE, it's melee, it's strike. You have to be sitting on the boss's dick anyways, and with 2 supports in it that would actually increase its damage, because I don't think this does. Yeah, it can't even be applied, and it's already doing the same amount of damage. Don't make any sense. Is it going to apply ailments is better? No, but the fact that it costs literally 0 mana and you have like tons of different supports that you could put into Quarterstaff Strike to boost the damage makes 0 sense. Quarterstaff Strike should get nerfed by like 30%, and that 30% should literally be baked into all Quarterstaff skills. Or not Quarterstaff skills, the Quarterstaff itself. That's my honest thoughts. And then for the passive tree, when you go crit, drop off this, pick up this, you get stats for going crit anyways, so your efficiency for passive points is insanely valid. You probably end up dropping Harness the Elements when you get enough passive points to like pad out onto the outer edge over here. You could pick up Overflowing Power and the Power Within, but that's like a lot of extra points. Don't necessarily think that's worth it. And yeah, pretty much that's it. You could also take Reaching Strikes. This is pretty good damage efficiency and rapid strikes. Falcon Technique is only really good if you desperately need more dexterity, and there's just like you've already completed like 90% of your tree. The point efficiency for this is really not that good. As you can see, it does give like some decent damage, but like if you hover over this one, for example, that's just 1 node, gives me 8,000 damage, whereas 1 node here gives me not 8,000, it gives me 800 damage increase, whereas this just gives me 400 damage increase. And then these minor nodes give far less, and this minor node gives far more. So you can pad this way, you can still get some dexterity or int. You can actually get int from this node, you can't get int from doing any of this. And if you do go this, you kind of have to take enhanced reflexes, else you're just not going to do that much damage. It'll make these points more efficient, but those 2 points could have been spent to get right here, and then you're 3 points away from Reaching Strikes. So none of this stuff really makes sense, how they've made the tree. And yeah, there's no elemental overload, so that's cooked. And then the final thoughts that I have is movement speed is king on Chayula because of Into the Breach. Into the Breach makes it so that, let's say I am clearing this way, my flames spawn over here, I have to go grab them, and then the next pack is like over there, and you have to backtrack all the way over there. So utilizing like Shattering Palm to get into different packs and everything is nice and will help out a lot, but movement speed is king, so 2 points to get movement speed, 2 points to get some movement speed. There's a lot more movement speed like down here. Over here, there's movement speed. This doesn't actually give you movement speed, it's just if you've pinned recently, like you're just not going to be pinning whatsoever. And Kite Runner, like we're not a proj build. I truthfully think that's just some Falling Thunder bullshit. I don't know. Um, so yeah, getting movement speed is really, really, really hard. And essentially, you would want like all of the movement speed if possible. Adrenaline Rush is probably a decent anoint for any monk build. Honestly, it's a lot of quality of life. It will drain your mana immensely. This block shit, I don't think it's ever going to be good, but that's like one of the best ways to get movement speed. Block like Act 1 final boss, like the barrage, and all of a sudden you'll be like zooming around even though you're chilled type of stuff. And then, I don't know, maybe use a mark, something like that. So, situational bullshit, but the best movement speed are these 2 points. So 4 points for 7% movement speed and some stats and like defense from the evasion rating and ES. So that's all good. Highly recommend that, especially if you're like in the 90s and you're like, I don't know what to take. Obviously, it's like guaranteed quality of life, and the stats are just going to become more and more invaluable as you get higher tier items that require insane stats, require way too much in my opinion for the minuscule amount of stats that you get from the tree. As you can tell, I've taken so much int on the tree. A lot of these small passive notes are literally just int because you need an incredible amount of intelligence. And yeah, it basically means that like if I want to use an actual ES helmet for subterfugal mask, you have to have like an insane amount of int and then hit like reduced attribute requirement on the suffix, which blocks one of the other mods. But because we're Chayula monk, I can at least like not have to value chaos res on a helmet whatsoever, like a lot of other builds would probably have to. This is my played, this is my dust. I tried doing 5 of the Trials of Sekhemas, the second one, because I wanted to learn the boss. I did get to go to the boss room 3 times, and every time it's 2 big motherfuckers, and I froze one of them, and then the other one tried to do a slam, but I was up against a wall, and there was like nowhere for me to fucking go because they are statue bosses, so they spawn right next to walls, and they just group up on you. So advice for monks is to pull them out of the walls before you try to engage them. I really don't like that is even a thought process for grinding gear games. It's just arbitrary difficulty and decreases like the value of the fight, in my opinion. That like having to pull them out of the wall is like the required thing. But the second one, I at least got them to like half HP before I died. They both do insane slams. They both have insane AoE. The shit thing is like every time that I've done this, I have around 2,000 honor starting out. And by the time I get to the boss, even though like my life never fucking drains, my ES drains like crazy to like some of the degens and shit that like the rare mobs can do. Like there's this stupid fire candle motherfucker that like vomits burning ground, and essentially that burning ground is just going to like gap your honor instantly. You combine that with like proximity shield and you go from 2,000 honor to like 1,000 honor in an instant. It is so annoying. There's a lot of like the chaos stuff that also is just going to decrease your honor, and then you get unlucky with like honor recovery from rooms, and then you go into the final boss with 200 fucking honor. And at that point, I just said, it's worth the pull, but essentially this is a fail. So I don't count those because the game literally just said, fuck you. And I'm level 65, and when I do hit the bosses, I do like 10% of their HP in a single hit. So like, it's clear that like, the Trial of Sekhemas is just like, insanely overtuned, but nevertheless, it is doable. It's just the damage incoming compared to your honor and like your actual like hit pool is just greatly too skewed. I'm gonna try ultimatums next and try to do that. Additionally, some of these deaths came from me specifically testing Balbala, the Act 2 boss, because I am convinced that she is bugged. Where is she? Because this doesn't go away. Balbala the Traitor, the boss that you have to do in order to unlock Trial of the Sekhemas, or as I'm gonna start calling it, Trial of the Sekhemas, because it sucks. Balbala the Traitor is a chaos damage, like she has a lot of dagger attacks, she does like ground arrow bullshit. I am out of evasion. I still get hit by almost everything that she does besides her basic auto attack, and it's all chaos damage. So if you do Balbala, you must get chaos res, and you must get non-armor or non-evasion. Like you have to like switch to armor gear or something like that in order to actually like reduce her damage. It is also bugged for block. She goes through your block, she goes through your evasion. Everything she does, you can basically equivalent to a chaos slam. And after that, I started noticing that every single chaos damage ability pretty much just straight up bypasses evasion entirely. Not all of them, but like I would say like 70% of them just bypass evasion entirely. I really don't like that as a design. I think that may be a legitimate bug. There are forum posts about both evasion and block not working against Balbala. So if you are having trouble with that boss and you have shit damage, I 100% understand and can relate. I literally died to her like 10 times on repeat to test this shit. Other than that, I died a couple of times in Act 1 due to chaos damage, not having chaos res, in addition to still using like level 20 gear in Act 1 Cruel. So by the time I got to like Act 2, everything was just one-shotting me, even with like Ghost Dance and everything else like that. But as I got into like the mid 50s, I was able to actually like increase my gear through like the gear that I had saved for my other character, as well as crafting some new pieces of gear, using all my currency to craft. And that's what's caused me to have pretty good gear on this character. I'm just non-crit, so I don't do as much damage. I'd probably do, honestly, like double my amount of damage currently, if I literally just like had crit chance into the build. Like, because the difference between non-crit and crit is literally just like, instead of like 10% chance to do like not that much damage, it would be like 40% chance to do like twice the amount of damage, and then that impacts the tooltip. So instead of like 8k, it would say like 20k at this point, honestly. So that combined with like the stat efficiency of the crit nodes is just honestly stupid game design from Grinding Gear Games. So anyways, that's it for this video. I will be playing the same character as non-crit into mapping, and I'll see how far in map tiers I get before it makes me basically say crit is the only answer and I must go crit. And then I'll figure out the crit variant from there, or I'm going to switch to poison. One of those two things are going to happen. If I drop the gloves that make your elemental damage deal poison damage, I will immediately switch to poison, because I'd rather actually play into my archetype fantasy than ignore it. The only thing that's shit about poison, Acolyte of Chayula, is that unless you're using Falling Thunder, you basically cannot gain anything from Mantra of Destruction. Additionally, with this character, you cannot gain anything from Mantra of Destruction. So one of the things that I'm considering for endgame is to drop one of the supports, probably Grim Feast, in order to get Mantra of Destruction, or maybe even Frostbomb, honestly, because lowering the pen, lowering cold res of the enemy does not really like help me that much. Plus I could put exposure on my bell, so when I do need exposure I can get some of it from the bell itself. So then put in Falling Thunder, and when I do have eventually extra power charges, I can then replace like Grim Feast with Mantra of Destruction, and then Mantra of Destruction into Falling Thunder, and just nuke like a big pack and then go kill a rare in like one hit. Like, that's pretty much my thought process. So hope this helps everybody out that is trying to do any like weird Chayula stuff or figure Chayula out. This has been my results, at least from getting into maps. I'll see how far I can push into mapping itself. Not having Into the Breach, honestly, I didn't really notice it throughout the campaign. The like 40% chance basically to have one of the added as extra modifiers pretty much feels about the same. So yeah, that's always fun. Um, that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.